Welcome back, super friends. Let's jump right into the current hubbub of topics. Today I start with a big win that Aaron Fischer was sure it would go the other way. However, Gunn wins yet again.
They are right. The Shuster family is right. Warner Brothers cannot win this. They are going to have to bend the knee. They're going to have to pay a lot of money, and they're not going to want to do that. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens with this behind the scenes. So what do you guys think about the rights of Superman reverting back to the co-creators and the fact that they have to agree to a new contract to be able to move forward and release in those countries? And so unless Warner Brothers pays a lot of money for the Schusters to be able to agree to that, this movie won't be playing in those countries.
Shuster's sister and brother had previously reached a deal with DC in 1992 that terminated the right to terminate DC's ownership of Superman. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the Superman IP, intellectual property, has been the subject of a recent lawsuit filed by the estate of one of Superman's co-creators, Joe Shuster. The estate claimed international copyright reverts back to the creator after 25 years of their death and sought to block the release of the new Superman film in various countries. However, a federal judge recently dismissed the lawsuit, citing a lack of jurisdiction, and denied the estate's request to block the film's release. Here's a more detailed deep dive of a breakdown. The lawsuit was filed by the estate of Superman co-creator Joseph Shuster. The estate attempted to argue that foreign copyright reverts to the creator's estate 25 years after the author's death. The lawsuit was against DC Comics and Warner Brothers Discovery, seeking to prevent the release of the new Superman film in various countries. The judge deemed the estate's request for a preliminary injunction to block the film's release as moot, as the movie was already set to be released on July 11th. The overseas release of James Gunn's new Superman film won't be delayed following a court ruling on Thursday that dismissed the lawsuit from the estate of the character's co-creator, Joseph Shuster. This was talked up to take down Superman in hopes of the Snyderbros circles, and once again, the way of the gun reigns supreme. Also, once again, Aaron, I'm sorry, but you confirming the category of Superman towards being a comedy is just not true. This is beyond a leap, more of a quantum leap into misinformation, whereby I feel the normies should get a fair shot of either liking or disliking the movie.
It's too bad he didn't have a better suit and didn't have a better director. It's too bad that they're turning this into a comedy. And this is where we get with the next part of this. It says, there were jokey moments, but they were well balanced with drama and was genuinely funny. And the movie knew when to get serious. Okay, here's the thing about this. If you read what that said, it is primarily billing this as a comedy. Now, before I show you the next thing I want to show you, it says the movie was 2 hours and 20 minutes long. So let's look at this next thing. The movie is generally funny, but knows when to get serious. This is what I want to focus on. This is also in this statement here. If you notice, the primary thing that they are focusing on here is that it has jokey moments, and the movie was genuinely funny, but knew when to get serious. This is mainly a comedy. They're admitting that this is a comedy, and maybe some people love that. But it is just not connecting with general audiences today. General audiences are tired of comedy superhero films. They're getting tired of superhero films in general.
To constantly say it's a comedy is just false, which this also leads into the Justice Gang information out there. Some of that certain crowds seem unfamiliar with DC history. There has been an Injustice Gang, the Injustice League, and for this movie, they are not yet the Justice League. It appears another knowledge gap is sending you all into a tizzy. Why can't some of you accept we've seen like 5 or 6 minutes total footage and you're writing off an entire Superman movie before giving it a chance. By the way, final cut and runtime still not officially announced yet. We only have a rough guideline from Gunn that it won't be more than 2.5 hours. I'm not able to guarantee the final film will all work as intended, but I do see a foundation that could exist to blend comics and animated works into the live-action realm. Towards the Justice Gang, I'd lean into the idea they are Maxwell Lord's corporate superheroes. It is absolutely plausible that the Lord Tech heroes get temporarily named the Justice Gang as a cheeky corporate marketing play. This would be before they evolve into their own standing and eventually as Justice League members, which I think Superman is that beacon of hope, showing another way to do things, bringing those heroes into their own, out of that corporate-led structure. Again, not coping, just applying common sense applications here. Superman isn't about fear, so having humor doesn't automatically make it a comedy. It's one facet of a movie. Look at a human individual's emotional and personality set of characteristics. You'll see a wide range: sadness, anger, laughter, romance, happiness, and so forth, all exist within the human condition. Speaking of which, to behave like humans, I've mentioned before not to dunk on another channel owner's looks, and stand by that. Those type of comments are not reality. They just feed hatred rather than highlight disagreements. It does warrant a follow-up, though, on another side's toxicity towards Gunn's casting of Superman and Supergirl. I am not going to post the memes, as some of them were not only way off basis, but so toxic and beyond trolling. These are humans, actors that took a job to do what they love for a living. The Snyderbot simps seem hell-bent on destroying anything non-Lord Snyder. It's actually a demented sickness at this point. Seek therapy and help, please. This may seem harsh, but please understand, I'm not referring to all Snyder fans. It is just that specific segment of online anarchists like near terroristic tendency mindsets, as if the Earth itself can be set full ablaze if they get their Snyderman movies back. Just sick individuals. Millie, who was handpicked essentially when cast by Gunn, he saw the acting chops of this actress and only needed the screen test to truly confirm his instincts on her as Supergirl. Immediately after casting Millie, the hatred towards an innocent young woman began. Depending on the fashion shoot styles and roles she is playing, her appearance varies as an actress and artist. Look at how close she matches the animated series version of Supergirl. Snyderbros started dunking on her simply because she was cast by Gunn. Pathetic sycophants trying to find any angle to resurrect Snyder Jesus. The Corenswet eyes memes still continue too, as if a bullying attempt on the new Superman. Take a look at these clips and hey, cult worshippers, try and say he doesn't have the Superman look.
That's not true. This is American Airlines starting to cool. To you? You guys want to go to the park? Heck yeah. Seems dangerous.
Nuts. What is that line?
The Force. There were at least 3 or 4 times when I was growing up where I would sit quietly and then just slowly open my eyes and go. And probably one of those times I half convinced myself that like it shook a little bit or something. The other superpower I would have would be to have John Williams music play wherever I went. Definitely. That's probably worth it. I really get a lot just looking up at the moon. It's the moon! There's a thing way out there that's lit up by the other thing way out there. I love the idea that people just looked up at the moon and were like, probably we can get there, right? And everybody else was just like, I mean, I'm not doing anything. Do you want to like figure it out? I mean, my first love of space was the opening of Star Wars. You know, when Luke, walks out of his house after his uncle says, you got to stay on another season, and he goes up to the dune and he looks out over the 2 suns and John Williams comes in. Dun, 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 dun. I just remember being like, yeah, let's do it. Come on. We had comic books that we got to read. I read Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes is my favorite comic book. It's playful and fun-loving and also deeply existential and poetic. They don't shy away from tough subjects. They deal with it and they're like, yeah, you know, those things happen and they're sad and yeah. The only piece of, it's not really jewelry, but the only thing I wear is a New York subway token from the 1980s, which my dad would have carried in his pocket when he was an actor in New York. And so that was his good luck charm, and now it's kind of my good luck charm. I don't know, it's just a nice thing.
Lie to yourselves to feel better about verse being dead and thinking if you sink the Gunn verse, it brings it back. Spoiler alert, that wouldn't be the outcome. If Gunn verse doesn't work, it's all on hold and Snyder still doesn't come back. Look at this Snyder shill in harsh critics. Let's run a fact check on a couple of items.
Remember what they said about The Flash? How they got special little perks to go see The Flash and try to convince you to go see it? But it was crap. They're shills and they need to be called out, and we don't need to take them serious no more. And I think a lot of people is catching on.
Because James Gunn had an inherited PR disaster in Zack's casting of Ezra Miller, affecting The Flash. He tried to minimize loss and tell audiences to go see it. You have a problem with that? Well, interesting, because your Lord Snyder not only talked up The Flash, but he supported Ezra Miller fully, a conflict you won't mention. No defense. According to Zack Snyder, his wallet was wide open for The Flash. He stated Ezra Miller and The Flash didn't deserve the criticism they received in the aftermath of its release. They did a great job in that Flash movie, Snyder said. It's very difficult to play against yourself. Snyder also confirmed he's offered support to Miller, keeping in contact with the acclaimed actor amid the above-mentioned legal drama, which includes harassment and disorderly conduct charges, grooming accusations and burglary. Then harsh Gunn critics, the true deserved channel name, decides to say Robert Burnett, who I've interacted with in the past, and Boba Talks are both shills.
I mean, Robert Burnett has admitted that he's friends with James Gunn and he's worked with James Gunn. So in my mind, he's for James Gunn interests, not ours. And then you got to ask yourself, the real rejects, why did they have to make an hour-long video saying why we should not hate James Gunn's Superman? Like, why even make the video unless you're getting something out of it? Same with Boba Talks. We all know he's a shill. I knew he was a shill based on when David Cornball's flying scene came out. That clown made an hour video trying to explain to his fans.
You said check Boba Talks video? Well, harsh. It seems that's a good idea as it debunks your notion perfectly.
People find it a bit jarring. People are like, so what's wrong with his face? There's nothing really wrong. It's just that one eye is like closed a bit more and the other eye is a bit wider. The eyelid is opening the eye a bit more. So I think in combination with the execution of the framing, the lens, the shot composition, and the focal length, like all of this can, yes, unfortunately, maybe make a bunch of people see that shot and think, nah, yeah, this looks weird to me. I wish maybe James Gunn shot or executed a scene of Superman flying a little bit different. And that's something I can respect, but the takes aren't usually that. A lot of people say this is absolute garbage. Like, I'm sorry, but if you say this is absolute gutter, like shit on the bottom of your shoe level garbage, I can't respect that. I know that's your opinion, but I don't think this is like, you know, what, maybe you're being hyperbolic, I don't know, but that's not the case. You may say, okay, I have this issue, this critique, and I can respect the way that's said. But this is where, you know, I've been witnessing online, they're not talking civilly about it. It gets into this pissing contest of showing, you know, a poster from Man of Steel versus a 240p potato quality shot of Corenswet here. You know, like, what even is that?
He is not a clown for making long videos. He takes the time to back up his opinions with substance. You might want to give that a try instead. of just ranting Gunn sucks wallets closed, as it's a lot more compelling. Superman isn't in the situation of the Flash. Is it an easy path? No, there are still reasons to be optimistic. After Minecraft's performance, though, I think it takes some pressure off of Superman. The studio won't feel it's all on a singular movie event in the short term. The long term does need a good DCU launch from it, though. Of course, the measure of what they're looking for box office-wise is not the same as fan war estimates. John Campea has stated before, $500 to $600 million worldwide is likely the baseline they need. With good reviews, remember too, the $363 million production budget was debunked. The break-even is likely $500 million, as we've got a clue that the overall budget estimate may be in line with Dune 2. This all factors together alongside rehabilitating the brand, the superhero genre being down and introducing a new cast, and Superman, an unknown lead actor in David, of course. This is all part of why Gunn himself, as accomplished as he is, lends legitimacy to the project and thus has been front and center for promoting it. The Snyderbros will up the number for expectation as a frivolous tactic. Watch them go, oh, it didn't do $1 billion, so it's a flop. Well, if you're a Snyder rider, your measure of success would be it failing anyway. No thanks. The studio has its own realistic expectations. If it does $700 to $800 million plus worldwide, though, even better, of course. That's a lot to overcome, though. The public was over the DCEU, and it's a full rebuild now with the DCU. A ton of summer competition in Jurassic World Rebirth, Fantastic Four, and Thunderbolts especially. Lately, the movies with big iconic characters to hits such as Minecraft, Barbie, and Super Mario Bros. Show, comparatively, the age of superhero fatigue is a real thing. Gunn delivering on Superman would be good for the genre itself, which of course is huge for the new DCU. Also, I wanted to end today revisiting Adria Arjona, promoting Season 2 of the Star Wars series. Arjona was asked about possibly suiting up as Wonder Woman and appeared to choose her words carefully. However, she did reference her and Gunn's history and certainly didn't close the door on tackling the role. He gave me my first movie ever, my first studio movie, she said, referring to the Belko experiment. So I owe him a lot. I love James Gunn. I don't know. From what I've understood, similar to Millie, James has thought of Adria in mind for Wonder Woman for quite a while. During some DC cross-promotional contract work, I kept hearing David Corenswet popping up as legitimate option. This eventually panned out. The buzz has been similar with her.
Just trying to do my fact checking here.
Not like personally.
Okay.
But I've heard it from like a lot of people.
Well, there you go. We got to get to the bottom of this.
I agree.
Detective, did we pull any paw prints off the victim?
No, sir. But we're hurting suspects now.
No small challenge, as we know.
Watching this space for sure to see who gets cast as Wonder Woman. That wraps up this hubbub session. As always, look up, not back. Until next time, take care of yourselves and others.